Hey there! I'm so glad you found me here, just in time to discuss chronic illness and relationships. It is so beautiful out here. I couldn't resist taking an opportunity to record outside so that we could enjoy the sunshine. So like I said, I want to talk about chronic illness and relationships and how this affects our thinking or our belief systems, how it impacts how we're doing, how it impacts our day and our daily life activities. I think relationships are close to the top of the list of most challenging aspects of a chronic condition. It may not be number one, but it's definitely up there because you guessed it, isolation. So isolation very much impacts our mental health and also maybe how we feel in our bodies. I know for me, when I'm down, I may be more achy or I may be less motivated to move, which then causes stiffness or aches and pains I might not have otherwise had. And anxiety in itself can cause tension, which then can cause pain. If you're here and have a chronic condition, you're probably nodding your head or maybe even shouting, yes, 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 somebody's addressing it, someone's saying something about it. I'm probably not the only one, but here we are. If you're here and this is news to you because you found me for some other reason, well, yay. Kudos to you and kudos to me, and I hope that you get something out of this. So let's figure it out together. There are many aspects of long-term health issues that are hard to navigate, not just relationships. For both the person with the chronic illness and for the loved ones, there are so many things that are pitfalls or traps or things that you don't even recognize may be a challenge until you're there in the middle of it. Some of those things: declines, constantly changing new normals, medication side effects, condition side effects, and a host of other experiences. New normals being a difference in the normal you know, or the day you know, something changes and now the baseline of existence is new and unfamiliar. First off, let's talk about declines. Our body is how we experience it, and then suddenly it's not. That sounds kind of basic. So we experience ourselves, our personhood, one way, and then the decline happens, whether it's quickly or slowly, and then we have a new experience that, like I just mentioned a minute ago, is our baseline. So we may wake up and suddenly have a new experience that is not familiar within our body, or a gradual, stealthy ninja sneak up of a decline may occur. And this is hard because we often don't notice until we realize where we are no longer doing what we once did. This may look like, for some EDSers, suddenly not being able to walk as far or stand as long as we once did. Or maybe we weren't using mobility aids and suddenly we need or require assistance devices to be able to moderate or manage our life on a regular basis, such as a cane or a rollator, or maybe even a wheelchair. Many people with EDS are ambulatory wheelchair users, and that's okay. It's more about quality of life and how we are managing and living life to the fullest within our ability, rather than honing in on our disability, which is easy to identify. How the world views us significantly impacts how the world interacts with us. That's not unfamiliar to people with EDS. And I'm specifically identifying EDS because that's my experience, along with the comorbid diagnoses that come with it. I can't really speak to things like MS or lupus, but my guess is it's pretty similar. So the next thing I want to address is constant changing new normals. What in the world is that? I briefly touched on new normals a moment ago. But pretty much we live our normal life. I don't even really like the word normal, but it's identifiable in common language. So we live our normal life, and then suddenly something comes along in our body that changes our normal life. Our daily experience. I'm not talking about flares or sickness, but I am talking about something that changes significantly and isn't going to go back to how it once was, thus creating a new experience as a daily baseline. Let me give you an example. I used to enjoy driving, and I used to enjoy traveling. I still enjoy traveling, but I don't enjoy the going to or the coming from the location. That transitioning period has now created this negative experience with traveling that causes anxiety. This is partly due to my body's experience of being in a vehicle, the actual physical experience of sitting in a car or truck. The vibrations make me hurt, and oftentimes I get a migraine because my head bobbles around on my shoulders rather than being supported by my tendons properly. My doctor gave me a neck brace. Well, my insurance paid for it, but I now have a neck brace for the times that I'm in compromising situations that are more challenging for my neck to support my head. This isn't going to change for the better. My tendons are not suddenly going to kick in and support my head again. I have done physical therapy and I do the exercises they've given me, and they have helped to maintain my experience, my physical experience. But my new baseline after periods of decline is not improving. It's not going to go beyond a certain point, which means I have a new normal regarding traveling and also anything that might shake me around. Are roller coasters an option anymore? I haven't been on one in a long time. My guess is I would probably get a pretty significant migraine and a few dislocations, or at least subluxations from it. Do I love roller coasters? Yes, I do. I love them so much. I can either avoid the thing that causes me pain, or I can change my approach to it, such as putting on my neck brace when I need it, even when my pride gets in the way. Because do I want to wear a neck brace? No. Do I want people to look at me wearing a neck brace? Absolutely not. That also means that when I'm sitting at home and I've developed a migraine for one reason or another, that is another opportunity I have been told to use my neck brace, and I do. It's much easier to use it at home than it is to use it out in public. People don't understand. People have misinformation, including medical people. I don't really like when I'm out in public and people stare at me, or they have thoughts that are more visible thoughts that they may not necessarily say, but their body language expresses discomfort, confusion, or judgment even. That's not pleasant. But it comes down to my quality of life. Because I live in my body, I don't go home with others. It's so much easier when I'm not around people. There's no one to see me, point at me, make faces of confusion, or even say ridiculous things to my face, because we all know people say it. People say things. This all comes into my new normal. Declines and new normals often cause us to isolate further than maybe we previously have or have any desire to. It's so much easier to not deal with other people's questions or comments that are uninformed comments, misunderstandings of our situation, or maybe even unkindness that may be shown. People think, well, I know someone with EDS. What's wrong with you? Your life is not like theirs. And the reality is there's not a one cookie cutter experience of EDS. If we can avoid the negatives that people might toss our way, oftentimes we do it. But in the same, we will miss out on the positives. So to miss the negatives, oftentimes we have to miss the positives. And maybe the exchange isn't worth it. Two more situations that arise that affect our experience with others are condition side effects and medication side effects. Condition side effects are those things that create our new normal or even temporary changes. They come from having EDS or comorbid conditions. An example of a condition side effect may be the development of my migraines due to my tendons not supporting my head, or my vertebra sliding around a little bit, or maybe a lot bit, I don't know. But keeping my neck in alignment is not happening properly. This definitely changes my experience with the world, as it's challenging at times to manage work, socializing, whatever is being required of me with a raging migraine. It's not always easy to do. I have to move past the pain or push myself, which then has other consequences. When you want to go out shopping and the challenge is standing in line for 10 minutes or 15 or 30, can you do that? I can get really creative in leaning on things, or I might just downright sit on the floor. When I began avoiding shopping or going out with friends or family, I knew there was an issue. Spending time with those people that I care about gives me energy in some aspects, and it drains me in others. I am an introvert, so sitting here in front of this camera is a bit challenging, and this is only take number 2, so we're doing pretty good. I knew I would not be able to manage the long periods of standing, so I actually began noticing a drop in my mood. Isolation changes took a toll on my mental health and how I viewed the world, and in return, how I even viewed myself. But the list of limitations in that time became my focus. All of the things I could not do, or the overwhelming things of what I was missing out on, or my ideas of missing out on, became so large and encompassed my vision that I lost track of the things I actually can do. I could project myself into the future, seeing so many things I would miss out on, seeing the things I would not be able to participate in. This caused me to miss the other list that I was talking about, the list of the things I am able to do or experience, that I can still do, and maybe even things I can do that I never knew I could do, things that I'd never tried before, that I have learned to enjoy. There is so much life to still be lived. I realized I was giving up, and that was not acceptable to me. I was not okay with sacrificing quality of life to avoid facing the things that I could no longer do. Things I loved, things that I enjoyed, that brought me so much joy and happiness. But there are more things that can do that, and maybe I haven't found them all yet. I hope I haven't. I hope there's still opportunity for me to find new things that I enjoy. Medication side effects is the other side effect I wanted to mention. This one can be complicated. As we take medications to feel better, not to feel worse, sometimes I struggle to know if something I'm feeling is sickness, a side effect of my condition, or further, a medication side effect. I can also become very frustrated personally because I just want to feel better. One thing I have noticed with medications is, do I have an upset stomach because of medicine, potential mast cell activation, gastroparesis, food poisoning, a stomach virus, or something I haven't even thought of, or maybe anxiety? I don't know. I'm not naturally an overly anxious person, but stuff happens. I can become anxious. Sometimes Addison's is actually the thing that's causing the experience of what anxiety is, and I just need a bolus of steroids, a stress dose. Really, the experience of symptoms can often be very similar, but how do we treat it? How do we deal with it? If I don't know what's causing my nausea, how do I deal with the nausea? Just treat the symptoms, treat the underlying cause? I have found I drink lots of ginger ale, actually. All I can do is the best that I can. I think my contact is drying out. The wind is so nice, but it's also drying. In those moments, I can ask for support and comfort and a couple of extra ginger ale. And I can also support and comfort myself rather than negative self-talk. Negative self-talk generally comes natural to the human experience. I think we're inundated with negativity and so many things that it's easier to focus on that rather than the positive, which might be a little harder. There really is something to being said about nurturing ourselves instead of rewarding positive behavior and punishing negative behavior that we see in our own behavior, in our own choices, such as failing to reach our goal. If we turn that around and celebrate our successes and comfort our losses, we might think a lot differently. It might create a whole different mindset for us. And how could that impact our experience with life? I think maybe pretty significantly, honestly. With my own experience, it's been a huge game changer. Really, the point of all this was how challenging chronic illness and relationships interact, and how isolation is a strain on our mental health. All of that summed up is that there are many factors that go into our experience with relationships and our experience with ourself. All of these things complicate the way we connect to others. Oftentimes, we don't want to appear weak. Okay, I can speak for myself. I don't want to appear weak. I don't want to appear vulnerable, and I don't want to appear broken. So I avoid others. I don't know about you. I think there's probably somebody watching that does the same. I can't be the only one. Avoiding others causes me to only have my own thoughts to focus on, my own inner voice, but that certainly is not helpful. If we have the negative self-talk and are hard on ourselves, then how is that impacting? How does that negative self-talk interchange with others? Are we more accepting of their criticism, or do we expect more? In a previous video, I mentioned that there is a research study or multiple research studies out there that a quick Google search can get you to, but it's regarding our mental health and how it's influenced by the fact that one brain needs another brain. One person needs another person to maintain a baseline of positive health. Mental health and needs that are to be satisfied. One person can't be another person's everything. It looks like we have a helicopter. Well, the joys of being outside. I'm still glad of the decision. It's really beautiful. But that said, we are relational beings. We are social people. And even the most introverted introvert, and I am an introvert, even the most extreme introvert needs someone, and more than one, because one person can't carry themselves and you. When we try to do this all alone, everything becomes overwhelming. It's a snowball experience. As a snowball picks up momentum rolling down a hill, it becomes disastrous at the bottom. And then the effects are far beyond what we ever imagined or desired to clean up and manage. It's a lot. What's the answer? What can we do to build community? What can we do to manage healthy relationships? Well, to start, build a group of safe people. How do we do that? How do I identify safe people? Well, slowly, we test the waters and we trust a little and trust a little more until the little more creates a lot. We also have to keep in mind, no one is perfect, and everyone has struggles that they deal with and have bad days, and their bad day is not necessarily to do with us at any reason. There could be things that we are involved in, but it may have nothing to do with us, and we can't take that on personally. Everyone having struggles means that everyone deals in it in different ways, and where those certain things different than us, we have to be open and offer our own strengths to them, so that that exchange of trust can also become an exchange of vulnerabilities. And exchanging vulnerabilities creates a bond, creates a stronger relationship, because not only can we trust, we know we can be vulnerable. Some of the other important factors in building safe, healthy relationships are, of course, boundaries. I harp on this in my office. I harp on this with my loved ones and my friends. Maintaining your own voice within a relationship is also supportive of boundaries. If you don't have a voice, find it. A voice is meaningful. A voice is part of our personhood. It expects respect, and we offer respect. We have to have that respect exchange as well. A lot to do in a relationship is transactional. And of course, be supportive to the other person. Just because we have limitations doesn't mean the other person doesn't have limitations. Our limitations are not superior to our loved one's limitations. It doesn't matter if the other person doesn't have a chronic illness. They have a life. They have the human condition. They have the human experience. Life is hard. That's a start. There are so many things to do to build and maintain healthy, safe relationships that it is energy sapping, but it's worth it. But the first two important priorities here is, number one, recognizing we need people, and number two, starting toward building and sustaining relationships immediately. It is so hard to have a chronic illness and maintain relationships because the world keeps moving when we have to take a rest. Life doesn't stop when we step off the merry-go-round for a breather and get back on. It's still moving. We have to take a break, and often we might be forgotten or feel forgotten, which then causes us to draw back. If you were here because you love someone with a chronic illness, please include them. If I can give you something, is to offer a hope that you would not stop asking. Don't stop asking because they had to say no before. If they say no, it could be an effort to maintain what current health they have and rest and restore themselves. But to stop asking is to disconnect. So please keep asking. I would love to hear from you in the comments some things that you would like people to know about being in a relationship with you if you have a chronic illness. Or maybe some questions you have if you don't have a chronic illness about how you can be supportive to someone who does, such as what I just said. For me, it would be please keep asking, or please keep inviting, and don't take my no as a rejection. Take my no as a means that of a message that I am trying to recover from maybe work or a stomach bug or something else that has cost me energy. I don't want to back out of most social engagements, but sometimes it's literally a lack of energy, or I have to measure my energy, and if I spend it at socializing, now will I be able to go to work tomorrow, or will I be able to fulfill some of the responsibilities that I have on my calendar? I personally often have to simply measure my energy. I have to measure my stamina, or I have to measure my experience, or spoons? My emotional experience? I don't know. We'll talk about spoon theory on another video, but check that out, spoon theory. That explains this really well. The thing that is most often sacrificed for me is socializing. Socializing doesn't pay the bills, it doesn't put food on my table, but it does fulfill my emotional needs, my emotional health. So it is just as important, if not more, than some other areas that I don't sacrifice. But okay, this could go on forever, but I have to stop somewhere, so here's a great place that I can pick up at another time. I'm so glad you were able to come and hang out with me out here. It's so beautiful. I'm hearing the birds and getting this breeze. It's great. So I always forget to say, click the thumbs up or the like down below. Click the button and subscribe. Let's keep this conversation going. And once again, thank you so much for joining me. See you next time.